So pretty much everyone is expecting the next generation Nintendo system or the Nintendo Switch 2 to launch at some point this year in 2024. And while Nintendo still hasn't said anything yet about the system officially, it seems like more and more details are just starting to slip through under the door and making their way outside, and that's what it seems like we might have here. So last night, a brand new report came out from Bloomberg about the screen that the next generation Nintendo system or the Switch 2 is going to be using, and it's created a lot of discussion, so I figured we would take a look at the article and then I would share with you guys my thoughts and how I feel about everything that this article is saying. Alright, so here we are on the Bloomberg article. As it says right here, Nintendo's next Switch coming this year with LCD, OMDS says. Nintendo will launch a new game console this year with an 8-inch LCD screen, according to Omdia analyst Hiroshi Hayase. The new device from the Kyoto-based games maker will be responsible for a doubling in shipments of so-called amusement displays in 2024, Hayase said in Tokyo on Friday. His research focuses on small and medium displays, and he bases annual forecasts on checks with companies in the supply chain. So basically, this person kind of looks at like the checks for companies and then bases his kind of conclusions and deductions based on how much they're spending on things, and he's using that for his kind of reasoning right now for how the Nintendo Switch is going to be using 8-inch screens. And so it says right here in the article, Nintendo's 7-year-old Switch has sold over 132 million units and is approaching the end of its life cycle. The company has been tight-lipped about any potential successor, but expectations have narrowed to this year's holiday period for the release of the next generation. Osaka-based Sharp Corp said last year that it was supplying LCD panels and working closely with the maker of an upcoming console that was then at the R&D or research and development stage. Sharp, which is owned by Foxconn Technology Group, has worked with Nintendo in the past and has served as a Switch assembler during the pandemic. A Nintendo spokesperson said the company had nothing to comment on. And if we take a look down here, we can actually see the graph of all of this right here, as it says Nintendo's console expected to double and sustain demand for amusement displays. And it's got a graph here of some of the more recent years where we can see in 2023 the amount of amusement displays was around 12 million, but now all of a sudden this year into 2024 it is going to be at 26.6 million. And even after that, it's going to remain pretty consistent, where in 2025 it's going to be 24.6 million, in 2026 it's going to be 24.3 million, in 2027 it's going to be about 25 million. So the point is, it's going to be remaining pretty consistent after this year. Now, it's pretty likely that not every single one of these is for the Switch 2. Like, this is just talking about amusement displays in general, so it's pretty likely that probably some of these are going to be used to make tablets and other devices and things like that. But even if some of these are used for the Switch 2, like, there's probably going to be a large percentage, I'm sure, that's still going to be used for the Nintendo Switch 2. And obviously, if they're having a really high amount of these produced for like the next 4 years, it definitely means that Nintendo is expecting this system to sell really well, and that's a good thing. I mean, I definitely do think that if they market this system really well, if they don't do what they did with the Wii U and everything, I'm sure they've learned all of their lessons and all of that. They're going to make sure that they're going to market this really well, and it is going to be selling really fast, which is why they have a really high amount of demand here for these amusement displays. Now, the writer of that Bloomberg article also put up this tweet right here, where it says Nikkei also has the exact same article. Nintendo to equip Switch successor with 8-inch LCD, British research company Nihon Keizai Shimbun. So Nikkei is basically like a really big news website in Japan, and it seems like they also had a very similar article, which also came out saying that the Nintendo Switch successor is going to have an 8-inch LCD screen, and this was from a British research company where they were getting this information from. So basically, he's saying here how more and more reports are starting to come out that are all saying the same thing. And so really the big thing that it seems like a lot of people are starting to take away from this article is how the next generation Nintendo system, or the Switch 2, is going to have an LCD screen, which is a step back from the OLED screen that we have right now on the Nintendo Switch OLED, and it seems like this has become a huge discussion online. I can just go on Twitter right now and you can see right here that the Switch 2 is trending because of the new article, but also OLED, as everybody is now talking about OLED screens and how the Switch 2 isn't going to have that. And so if you are somebody who has a Nintendo Switch OLED right now, then you know that in handheld mode, the colors on that screen do look very vibrant. It's a very nice looking display. And of course, I've had like my original day one Nintendo Switch that I got in March of 2017, but then I also got the Nintendo Switch OLED when that came out too, so I've actually tweeted images with like side-by-side comparisons, and yeah, it is definitely a night and day difference on the Switch OLED. Like the colors are much more vibrant, they look really beautiful on the Switch OLED, so to hear that we're going to be going from the Switch OLED back down to an LCD screen like what the original Switch came with, it does kind of sound like a disappointing downgrade to go from that, but I do want to talk about it because I feel like there is some things here that people aren't really thinking about. So the first thing is that this Nintendo Switch 2 screen is actually going to be even bigger than the Switch OLED screen, where now it's going to be an 8-inch screen, which is an inch even bigger than the 7-inch screen that we have on the OLED, which I already thought was a really good size. But after that, it's even talking about how it is going to be a 1080p panel, as that's pretty much what all of the rumors have said, is that it's going to be a 1080p screen and it's going to be 8 inches. So this is really good, I feel like. I think it's going to definitely make stuff look much crispier, especially with the added performance and power that we've been hearing about, so games should look really well on it. And the thing about LCD screens is that not every single LCD screen is created the same way. In fact, the original Nintendo Switch from 2017 has a plastic screen, and Nintendo did that so that if you're giving this to like kids, and if they're dropping it on the ground a lot, and if they're dropping their Switch, it's not going to be cracking and shattering their screen, and it's going to be very durable. And it's because of that that the original Nintendo Switch is actually a very, very sturdy screen. Like, there's been videos of people banging it with a hammer and stuff, and the screen remains perfectly fine. I mean, you can get some scratches and things on it, but in terms of the actual screen itself, it's going to remain really well. The Switch OLED, on the other hand, actually does use a glass panel, and so because of that, the glass panel can actually crack and shatter. But the thing is, if the Switch 2 is going to be using a different type of LCD, and if it's not going to be using plastic, and if it's going to be using glass, and it's also going to be just having better technology in general, more recent LCD tech, it's going to look better than what the original 2017 Nintendo Switch does. And I feel like that's kind of the thing that a lot of people are thinking about when they hear LCD Switch, because that's the only one that they have to go off of. But it's very possible that even with an LCD screen, it's still going to look significantly better than the 2017 Switch. And finally, some other good news from the article writer. It says right here, display shipment data suggests that Nintendo would make about 10 million of the next-gen console in the initial fiscal year. Unlike the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S that faced chip shortages at launch, Nintendo's would be much easier to find at stores. And about OLED version, Omdia says not for this year. And so basically what this means is that from the time that the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, towards like the end of 2024 this year, all the way up until the end of March of 2025, that is going to be the end of the fiscal year, Nintendo is going to try to make about 10 million of the Switch 2s available. And if it's going to come out towards the end of this year in like October or November, from there up until the end of March, I feel like having 10 million Switch 2s for those few months at the very beginning would definitely be a good amount. Now, when the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X first came out in 2020, it was in the middle of the pandemic where there was a huge chip shortage that was going on, and because of that, it was very difficult to produce these systems, and there was very low stock of them available. So if you remember trying to get like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X when it first came out, you probably remember how difficult it was to get like those pre-orders. There was people using bots to kind of get every single shipment of them that was available on websites. There was people scalping them. It was just a mess and it was a disaster. And of course, nobody wants that to happen with the Nintendo Switch 2, and it seems like thankfully it's not going to happen because all of the chip shortages and all of that should be over now, and Nintendo is going to try to make a very big amount of stock available. So hopefully you should be able to just walk into like a Best Buy or a Target or a Walmart or wherever and just see a bunch of Switch 2s available on the store shelf this year, and hopefully it is going to be easy for everyone to get that system, as I know that a lot of people are going to want to try to have the next generation Nintendo system as soon as it's available. I'm definitely going to try to get it day one too, so I really do hope that Nintendo does make a lot of stock of them, and it is very easy to get the system. And finally, when it comes to having an OLED screen, the analyst said that it's not for this year, implying that there might be an OLED screen down the line, and this completely sounds like classic Nintendo. This sounds like something that they would absolutely do, where they're going to release the original version of the Switch 2 with an LCD screen, and it's going to be like $400 or whatever, and then like 3 years down the line, in like 2027, they'll have like the OLED model revision that's going to come out, and it might have like better speakers and things like that, and they're going to try to sell that for like $450 and try to get you to buy that again, and there's definitely going to be some people, I'm probably going to be guilty of it, who's probably going to get that system too, so that way they're going to make like $400 off of the original Switch 2, and then also $450 off of that revision. So it doesn't surprise me, they did that same exact thing with the current Nintendo Switch as well, so they're probably just going to do that with the Switch 2 also. And so if you're someone who's not in a rush to get a Switch 2 right away either, you might be better off to kind of just wait a little bit until this revision is available, and that way you can get it like 2 to 3 years down the line when the revision comes out, jump into the Switch 2 generation then, and then by that time there's already going to be so many big games I'm sure that are going to be on the system too, so you're going to have a huge library to get into there, so it's definitely a possibility that you could think about too. But yeah, there you go guys, that is pretty much the most recent information that we have right now about the Nintendo Switch 2, and that it's going to be using an 8-inch LCD screen, probably also going to be 1080p. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button, and also subscribe to the channel as well, as I'm definitely going to have some more videos talking about the next Nintendo system as the information comes out. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think about all of this. How do you guys feel about the Switch 2 having an 8-inch LCD screen? Are you guys disappointed by it? Do you really want it to have OLED? Are you okay with it? Or are you somebody who just plays it in dock mode and you don't really mind about the handheld screen to begin with? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. But if you don't have anything to say about this, just comment your favorite emoji down below for some engagement. I would really appreciate it. Go follow me on Twitter at @Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.